Live mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report from Zeno. First up here, Cowboys offensive line more banged up than the Eagles, sadly. It has been I see this on Twitter a little bit, the competition as to who's more banged up, the Cowboys or Eagles overall. Doesn't really matter. Both these teams are decimated. I mean, it's a who's worse between, things I probably shouldn't say out loud, but they are rough. They are absolutely rough. So, yeah, everyone is super banged up right now. From Joe, what could we get for Gallup? Odds it would happen. I think look, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm asking for a first rounder. Because if you had traded him last year in the draft, you would have taken Gallup over a pretty good number of the receivers. You've taken Gallup over Jalen Reagor, right? So I'm not settling for less than a first. I'm not convinced it happens. It's probably more of a future Cowboys problem than it is a trade deadline problem. But as an organization, do your job. Listen to whatever offers come in. If you get something great, you can do it, but it better be great. You don't trade him away for, pennies on the dollar at this point. From Jeremiah Early, #TrashBoys. Tom, I'm done with this dumpster fire. Give me some college defensive tackles, cornerbacks, and safeties to watch that we could draft. Also, why are our free agents always horrible? Yeah, we're going to look back, and we'll do this at some point. The free agency class with the Dallas Cowboys that I'll be up front, I liked, disaster. Dontari Poe, Everson Griffin, Clinton Dix. Yikes. Daryl Worley, they missed on all of them. It's really disappointing. If you're looking for draft prospects, I will go quick here. Watch Alabama defense in general. They got a good DT, Christian Barmore, a good corner in Patrick Surtain. Defensive line and safety, watch Florida State. They got some good players, namely Marvin Wilson. I'm a big fan of his on the defensive line. Georgia's defense, if you want a fatty, Jordan Davis, I think, is a pretty darn good football player. Cornerback-wise, Sean Wade, Caleb Farley. South Carolina, Georgia also have two good cornerbacks, Tyson Campbell, Eric Stokes for Georgia. J.C. Horn, I like him quite a bit for South Carolina. Safety-wise, TCU, actually. Two very good football players, Trevon Mooring, I think is how you pronounce his name, and then the new Antoine Winfield, Ardarius Washington, both very good football players. Antonio Gonzalez, any chance of Dak coming back if the Cowboys make the playoffs? Don't even get your hopes up here, guys. Like, this is a 4 to 6 month, injury timeline. The earliest of that timeline is after the Super Bowl. Like, it's just going to take Dak time. I feel very confident that he will be able to rehab maybe a bit ahead of schedule, but I don't anticipate him being back by January. There's no way that's not how the injury heals. So, no, Antonio, don't expect Dak Prescott coming back anytime soon. I just don't think that's a likely at all outcome for the Dallas Cowboys. It's just a little bit too difficult. And then beyond that, look, they're not going to make the playoffs. At least they shouldn't try to make the playoffs here. So what should the Cowboys do? Get your votes in here in the comments section. T for tank or W for win. Look, if you want to win, I get it. You're a competitor. I'm looking long-term here. I think it makes more sense to go ahead and tank because you're not going to do much with this team in the postseason. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. So get your votes in here for me. Type T for tank or W for win. From Chad Hansen, why in the hell is Worley still starting? Dude is burnt toast. Why not let Reggie Robinson give it a go? It's not like it can get any worse. Great question. They did more or less bench Daryl Worley after he got roasted against the Cardinals, and they inserted Anthony Brown more as a full-time guy, which they should have made for the start. I don't get it, Chad. This team can't evaluate its own players. It drives me insane. I thought Robinson was going to be more of a redshirt guy to begin with, but yeah, you're in a reality rebuilding year. I'd throw him to the fire as well. Maybe not this week, but actually maybe sure because Washington sucks passing the ball at some point soon. Fat Sushi Man says, Earl Thomas, bottoms up. I drink for all Earl Thomas super chats. Thank you, my friend. Erica, you see other teams still adding pieces. I don't understand why we don't go for broke. 94 is like a new addition. Pick up Earl Thomas to help the defensive backs. Grab David Irving. Trade for an impact DT and or an OT. Because you don't go for broke when your team is bad. If this team still had Dak Prescott, I think my tune would be different. But Dak was the reason you didn't get blown out in each of your first 6 games. Honestly, I think that would have been the outcome. Maybe you still win 1. You are decimated by injuries, so I don't believe in trading future pieces you're going to want, because you're going to need cheap contracts on their first deals, for cheap players on their first deal. Yeah, you get back Randy Gregory. David Irving's a cancer. I don't want to touch him. If you pick up Earl Thomas, that helps the defensive backs. Doesn't fix the defense, though. So the amount of movement you would have to make to fix everything would be so expensive, mainly from a draft capital perspective, that you're selling the farm in a year you still might not win. So at that point, no, it's simply not worth it. But Erica, I appreciate that super chat, and I do get where you're coming from. From King J, as we get all the super chats in there today, how much draft compensation would it take to get a real coach like Bill Belichick from New England to Dallas? He would get the most out of these players. The answer is all of it, because Robert Kraft is not going to allow the greatest head coach in NFL history to leave. It's simply not going to happen. I love the mindset there, but, there's just no way. Now, if you guys want daily Cowboys videos, I want you to subscribe. That's the way to get on these live mailbags here. Join the live show. Otherwise, we're not going to see your questions live. It's simple, logic right there. So if you want to be part of the #1 Cowboys YouTube channel, the most interactive YouTube channel out there, hit that big red button and subscribe today. That way you don't miss a single thing here on the Cowboys Report. Silhouette of a stranger. What more can Dalton really bring to Dallas? Dak was giving the offense enough. The problem is the defense giving up so many points is making Dak's offense effort useless. At some point, with the way the run game is operating, you're going to have to let Dalton air it out. Now, I get why the game plan was super conservative, short, quick passes. That way you don't miss that way you don't jeopardize Dalton by a really bad offensive line. But you're going to have to air it out. That's the only way. From Madden Kingz with a Madden trade proposal, can Dallas trade for Jaire Alexander? No, they can't, because the Green Bay Packers are a good football team. They are trying to win a Super Bowl. They're not going to trade away their #1 corner. The offer that it would take would be so ridiculous that it makes 0 sense for the Cowboys to do it. So, no, you're not getting Jaire Alexander. All right, Joey, you lose this game, do you tank? I do, for the best corner in the draft. I do tank, but I might not just go for the best corner. I'd explore what the defensive prospects look like. But you know what I think the ideal outcome here for this Dallas Cowboys team is? The ideal, actually feasible outcome, I should say. You tank, you get a top 5 draft pick, and one of the big 3, well, one of the big 2 left, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, because you ain't getting Trevor, is on the board when you're picking. And you sell to the highest bidder, you get a whole bunch of draft picks and capital, and it allows you to help reset your team with a bunch of young, cheap, and hopefully talented draft picks that end up hitting. Now, today's show is made possible by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use the promo code that you see on your screen. It's Cowboys125. That's chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code Cowboys125. If you are a new BetUS customer, after you sign up and deposit $100 using our link and promo code, email us cowboys@chatsports.com. Place a bet as well so everything gets processed properly, and we'll hook you guys up with a Cowboys jersey. Only available to new BetUS customers and only available for the rest of the month of October. From Alan Williams II, Tom, does it make sense for us to fire anyone on the coaching staff now that we're 6 games in the season? I don't think so. I'm counting that as a fire Mike Nolan question, so drink. I mean, it's a very difficult situation because if you fire somebody now, you really don't have a lot of obvious options ready to take over and stuff because that's just not how coaching staffs are normally built. Normally, when you give a promotion to somebody, you're hiring them from a different staff because they were good or your current staff was good. That's not the case with the Cowboys right now, right? So if you want to fire, maybe I'll mention Mike Nolan here because you think it's just not ever going to work, then yeah, I think it makes some sense, but I don't think I want to make this point clear. Firing doesn't fix the problems with this Cowboys team. They go a little bit deeper and more plentiful than that. That is going to be a concern going forward for this Cowboys team, so don't forget that here. Now, we saw some of you guys having trade questions here, and I appreciate that. So name a player that you would want to trade for. We mentioned Quinnen Williams earlier. That would be the guy on my list, and it's not a deep list. I am looking for players who are young, who are cheap, and who aren't going to be overly expensive in a trade. Guess what? That's like me asking for $1 million from Santa Claus this year. There aren't very many examples of that actually happening. So give me your names, though, in the comment section. Who do you want to trade for? From Joe, can we offload big contracts? Give DiNucci a shot. I'll take a drink to that, my friend. I should not slam that bottle. It's going to pour over. Thank God it didn't there. God, that would have been dumb of me. Honestly, the answer is no. If you're going to offload big contracts, it has to be in the offseason. Because, there aren't many teams that have the cap space available. And by the way, when you're offloading big contracts, you're not getting great value back. So, if you want to explore it this offseason, sure, I have no problem there. If you want to listen if teams call now, sure. But I'm not going to get my hopes up. I just don't think it's all that likely. Stelios 300 Cowboys, haven't seen you in a while. Glad to have you back, my man. Gallup stays, period. Can they turn it around? Can they? Sure. Will they? Probably not. I really wouldn't get your hopes up on that one. Feels a little bit unlikely at this point with just so many injuries and a garbage tier defense. I'm going to guess this is pronounced Geordan Fuller. If it's not Mr. Fuller, please let me know. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Why won't they just trade Coop? I mean, he's good at football. I know there are moments of Cooper, what are you doing? But across his seasons for the Cowboys, he's been a legitimate number one guy. But to answer the next part of that question, they just paid him. You're not going to move on from Cooper yet. I think if you're going to trade Cooper, it's probably after next season because his contract becomes much more tradable from the Cowboys' cap perspective. And you could use that money to potentially pay one Michael Gallup. Just throwing that out there as an option. All right, from EB Games, trade Zeke for a first. I'm going to stop you right there. No one's trading a first for Zeke Elliott. I don't know what team you think you're going to get a first-round pick for Zeke Elliott for. Bill O'Brien got fired. Not happening. Draft Travis Etienne in round 2. That's fine in terms of replacing Zeke. He's awesome. I love him. Draft Penei Sewell and Marvin Wilson in the first round, then draft a safety in round 3. I think there's a real chance that Penei Sewell and Marvin Wilson both go top 10, or at least go top 15. So again, how are you getting a top 15 pick for Zeke? There's no way that one happens. His contract isn't all that intriguing to other NFL teams, especially you're selling at a low point because he keeps fumbling because he has the yips. So in reality, kind of stuck with Zeke. Sorry, guys.